UFC Noche, and on the card at strawweight, Loopy Godinez was due a rematch with Sam Hughes. Elise Reed was due Cynthia Calvillo. Calvillo's out. Hughes is out. Godinez gets Reed, and we get a fight. Matt, when you look at this matchup for Loopy Godinez, 2 wins in a row. She beat Cynthia Calvillo, and her last time out looked pretty darn good against Emily Ducati. And if you look at it for Elise Reed, gets the win even with the takedowns of Jinyu Fry. And that's one of those things. For Elise Reed, a Taekwondo black belt to the nth degree. She's been a gym owner since the age of 25. You hear that all the time. At a kickside martial arts in New Jersey. But when you look at it for Reed, I mean, strikes on the outside, the kicks on the outside, those really are her hallmarks. And you saw it even in her fight as an underdog against Melissa Martinez. Martinez really good with the boxing. Martinez is crashing the distance. Martinez goes for a body kick, and off that, Reed throws a punch, drops Martinez in the first round. So for Reed, a really interesting case because we probably haven't seen the best of her in the UFC. She does have a record of 7-3, but interesting for her on this 3-3 run is the fact that she's been an underdog in even some of these wins. I mean, Corey McKenna and that aforementioned Melissa Martinez fight. So for Reed, I mean, the mat is lava in just about every fight, because if you're getting submitted by Muay Thai striker Loma Lookbunmi, then Lord only knows what could happen. And for Loopy Godinez, boxing, really the hallmark. I always talk about that Lindsay Garbat BTC title fight, but for Godinez, she can go out there, she can put the wrestling shoes on in her own right. She was one of those fighters that tried to do the unthinkable, fight on a week between fights. She gets the win down at strawweight. She moves up against Luana Carolina, wins the first round of that one, and then gets outstruck on the outside and tended to fade as that one went on. But Godinez really able to prove those naysayers wrong in those last 2 wins. Beats Ducati, who's a great outside striker, loves to throw the kicks both to all 3 levels, and along with her boxing. So when you look at this fight, I think one of the big storylines that people are going to throw away on this one, but they will mention in the main event, Loopy Godinez for this fight, not training at Titan MMA in Vancouver. She's training down at Lobo Gym in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Matt, the elevation there is 1,566 meters. The elevation in New Jersey, whether it's at either kickside location, Princeton or Hillsborough, less than 100 meters. Loopy Godinez at elevation. Elise Reed at sea level. I don't know what Cain Velasquez...
Sam Alvey slept in an oxygen tent, altitude tent every night, and it didn't help him. So.
Altitude tents and actual elevation aren't the same thing.
Just saying, well, not everybody who fights in Mexico or Denver is undefeated. It's a nice thing to have in your back pocket, but I don't think it makes all the difference in the world. The flip side is, though, you get less out of your workouts because the air's thinner.
Kyle Nelson beat Marco Polo Reyes in Mexico City, and that's the next fight I'm going to talk about. But I think that's just a little bit of an added X factor for somebody who likes to wrestle a little bit in along with their boxing.
It is. The only question I have in this fight is, can Loopy Godinez get Elise Reed down to the mat, and can she do it for about more than 7 minutes? Because if she can do it for more than that amount of time, I think she can win decision in this matchup.
I think she can beat her with her boxing regardless.
I think that's a much more difficult way of winning. If you're fighting somebody who is a primary striker, and you're also a grappler, and you're well-rounded, do you think your coach is telling you, hey, strike with them? No, they're saying, hey, do the thing they're really bad at, which would be defensive grappling and grappling in general. So I don't think Godinez can win this fight if it's only on the feet. If it's just 15 minutes, I would pick Elise Reed in this matchup. If it was just 15 minutes of striking. But I think if Godinez is able to not only mix in the takedown, but mix in the clinch to eliminate some of the rhythm that Elise Reed can get into when she is able to mix in her combinations at kicking range, then yes, Elise Reed might have a chance to win this if she is able to just keep Godinez off her for the majority of the fight. But I think Godinez does a good enough job with not only her takedown attempts, the clinch as well, to just get time and get moments off in those positions to win this fight based on decision. Because I think both fighters are going to have a really hard time getting a stoppage win in this matchup. Either Godinez with a submission or a TKO, or Elise Reed hitting her with a big shot on the feet and completely changing the complexion of this fight. I also said Sean Strickland probably wouldn't drop Israel Adesanya, so hey, what do I know? I just think that if you're Loopy Godinez, you have all the tools to win this fight, and not an easy way, but a much easier way, so why would you go out there and just try to strike for 15
minutes? And for
minutes?
Elise Reed, they've continued to throw her wrestlers. I don't know if they want Elise Reed to be out of the UFC, but if you look at it, I mean, Corey McKenna, that's a win over on. Corey McKenna's close to home soil, and Reed was kind of on the losing end in a short notice fight up a weight class against Jerry Eubanks to take the UFC debut. But since then, I mean, 50% takedown defense in the UFC, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it is the number that is on the page. Matt, if you do look at it, numbers on a page for Godinez, her last time out, 119.5 was the weight. but she didn't miss the weight. It was a catch weight at 120 pounds. So we look at this matchup. Godinez is a big favorite. We have a look at the Topology votes. Surprise to us as they are to you. I'm going to say over under 85% Godinez.
I'll say over.
They are wild. Oh my gosh. 693 total votes, 97% Godinez, 82% by decision. There are 3% of fans that have Elise Reed to win this fight, including contrarians and people that like to be different. Matt, I do have Loopy Godinez in the matchup. It's MMA. Anything can happen. We know this, but for me, I do think Godinez, again, switching it up, working at Titan, working not just at Titan in BC. You know, a lot of those fighters out of BC that train in the similar areas, like Sarah Kaufman, like Jamie Lynn Horth, who's in the UFC now.
A 43-year-old bantamweight might not be the best.
Doesn't matter.
way to start.
All these women that train together and utilize wrestling and good striking, but also for Godinez to go down to Mexico, work it with Alexa Grasso, Irina Aldana, Alessandro Costa with jiu-jitsu, and that John and Kate plus 8 hairdo that is Diego Lopez to work in a little bit of that ground game too. For those reasons, I have Lupita Godinez in the matchup.
I've also got Godinez, but if you guys ever hear me say he's been training with Andrei Arlovsky down in American Top Team, pick against whoever I'm about to pick. I do have Godinez, though, because I think she is so much more well-rounded in the matchup.
I don't know. Last night at UFC 293, we did hear, and he has Marcelo Golm in his corner. Just something you don't hear every day. But Matt, both of us going with the Mexican-Canadian in the matchup. Lupe Godinez to get the win. Some big-time fights in this card. I can't wait for the co-main event at welterweight. Kevin Holland taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Check that video out and toss a like on your way out. You're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.